Hi everybody, welcome back to Flames Pyro Art for Beginners. I did start doing this Dobby piece as part of a tutorial on the groups, and I got swept away with trying to unlock the mysteries of human hair for a week. Trialing and fiddling about with different techniques on how we can create human hair. I think I've pretty much unlocked some of the mysteries of that, but I have been working on our Dobby piece here just off camera, so I thought I would just do a little brief tutorial today about what I have been doing with this piece. This is going to my sister-in-law's mum, who loves Dobby. I'm going to put some words above and below. So as you can see at the current state it's in, we're quite dark on a shading. The reason why we have to go that little shade darker than what we would normally if we were doing skin tone is when we spray seal a piece, the wood will change colour slightly. It will darken the wood depending on what sealant you use. I mean, you can use, say, plastic coat matte spray sealant, or crystal clear gloss sealant, or there is Minwax paint sealant that you can use, but all of them do darken the wood. So let's say, for example, here on the forehead, when I seal this piece, if I do not go to a dark enough level, I will lose that detail when I seal the piece off with a spray. So you do have to go, I know, and this is a very difficult thing, and it was a very hard thing for me to get my head around and force myself to do, was to go a shade darker than what you actually think you should do. So I know skin tone is very light, you know, if you just trying to add shading and depth to skin tone, as a rule it is very light, but you sometimes, I mean, with an elf it's different. I wouldn't do this dark with a human subject, but I've just tried to make his nose really pop forward. That's why I've gone even darker still, because he's got a big nose on his Dobby. So we've gone that bit darker. Well, that was just the little tip for today with darkening your work, how dark to take it. Say if somebody asked you to do a commission of their white dog, and with a white dog all it is shading, like, you know, the underneath of the fur, and, you know, just adding shading so you can see some shape and depth to the animal. You would turn your picture into, like, turn your saturation off, or you put it in sepia mode so you can actually see where all the shading is for like a white animal. But if you left your piece light, which I found out to my peril in my earlier days, if you leave your piece too light and then when you come to spray it, you will lose all that little fine detail that you spent the time just touching in there it will evaporate once you put your spray sealant over the top. So we do need to push ourselves past that stage of darkness that we think we need to go to. We need to go one shade darker. I mean, what I would say is experiment with a piece. Get, say, a piece of your birch ply. Just do a simple burn a name or whatever in different depths of shading, and then add your spray sealant over the top and see which ones you can actually still see. That's one good way of seeing, you know, what effect your sealants will have on your particular wood. So that is one thing to bear in mind if you're doing commission pieces. This Dobby piece is just about done with it. It was just a bit of fun, just a relaxation mess about piece that in the end, as we all do, I got myself involved in it and all of a sudden I'm on to I think it's day 2 or 3 of messing about with Dobby. All of a sudden I got myself engrossed like we do, and next thing you know, a couple of days have passed and the thing that you were only going to spend a day or so messing about with, you've actually gone into much more detail than what you would have done. I'm using the large flat round from the Optima to shade this piece up. The Space Shader would work as well, but I find for skin tone, for like say down the side of a head here for example, if we want to add depth to the side of somebody's head, we need to obviously go, you know, from the darkest at the back, coming lighter, moving with the shape of the side of the head as it's going up. And I find the large flat round is very good for doing this kind of work. Like I said, the Space Shader will work as well, but because you've got that pointed edge of the Space Shader, sometimes you can just add that few burn marks, a few shadings that you don't want, where with a large flat round you know where you are. He also, from the Optima range, he does a spoon shader. So I don't know if you can see on camera, let me see if I can get them. There's the large flat round, which is just, like I said, it's just a flat base with a nice curve. But he also does a curved edge spoon shader, which is great for skin. I found that's really good for doing like cheekbones and skin tones with. The Optima range, he does design a pen for pretty much every style of pyrography you can think of. You may think that one tip does all, but actually the way Pat at the Optima works, he designs new tips all the time to help make things easier, and to, you know, say for example if you're doing bird feathers, he has tips specially designed to help you do the plumage on the bird's feathers. So he really takes his time to do his research into the design of a world of tips. I mean, I think I've got 15 or so of his pens and I haven't got them all. So that just gives you an indication of the design engineering that the Optima range does. That's why I chose them as my main pyrography machine. I would never now switch to any other brand of wood burner. As they do say, once you have used the Optima, you will never go back to using anything else. The glide on the wood is superb. One other little note is, remember, if you are investing, I know it's quite a substantial sum into an Optima if you're in the UK, look after your tips. Never ever use sandpaper on your tips. It will put this in your instruction booklet, but it will supply you with a block of polishing compound, which we've got here. So what you would do, if you do get a carbon build-up on your tip, you've got some polishing compound and you use your leather strap to clean your tip. Now there's one other little thing to mention when cleaning tips, is you can also over clean your tips. You can over polish them. You don't want to polish them every day so they stay super shiny and, you know, like chrome effect. Over time, that the metal on the underside will change colour. I mean, I'm not a thermodynamics engineer, but it's something to do with the oxidization layer, and you can actually over polish the tip and damage it as well. So only really clean them if you can feel that carbon buildup, and you would feel a carbon buildup by, if you run your nail along the tip, you will feel a lump, and that lump is the lump of carbon that's built up. You often get carbon buildup from when you're burning at really high heats. That's generally when you will find you will get your most carbon buildups if you're running at really high heat. I mean, I'm at setting 3 here on a large spoon shader, which is about as high as I'll go on my settings, which isn't very high at setting 3, and I will build up the layers of shading. You know, if you go over an area often enough, you will darken it up to a, you know, to a decent level of shading without having to crank your machine up to 5 or 6, you know, and then you will start getting your carbon build up and you will start charring your wood. Keep the heat down, stay in control of the heat, and it will be a lot more friendly to you. You will find you have control over the pen and the shading that's been applied, rather than the pen dictating to you. You know, if you know what I mean, if you're burning at high heats, that pen's getting away from you all the time, isn't it? And you're having to move fast so you don't char the wood, because we don't want to char it, we just want to soak the heat into the wood. If you spoke to Pat at carvertools.com, he would give you the full knowledge behind how wood absorbs layers of heat and how it reacts and stuff. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. I'm not as educated as he is and all these things. He's researched everything properly, you know, and read up. And I always say if there's something pyrography, if Pat doesn't know the answer to it, then there is no answer to it, because he really does know his stuff. That's enough about the Optima range for today. So what I've been doing with this head is, obviously, if we want to show some depth to, say, Dobby's head, then we need to be darker at the back, and he's got a very wrinkly head as our Dobby. See, I mean, you don't have to put every wrinkle in the exact spot that it belongs. You know that a wrinkly head is a wrinkly head, and it doesn't really matter. I suppose on any angle the look on the wrinkles would look different. But so you start at your darkest at the back, and you gently shade your way from darkest to lighter to lighter to lighter still at the front. So you're giving that perception of there's something way back there and it's coming forward, you know, so it gives that bit more depth to the piece of art you're working on. It's all just about just experimenting. Just like I said, the worst that can happen is you find out one way not to do something, so that's a positive in my book. You've learnt a lesson, you don't do it that way, so that's one great thing from as we learn the skills with pyrography art. Every time we work, we're always learning something new, and don't worry, I am far from a font of all knowledge. I just wood burnt every day for nigh on 18 months, and so I've just crammed a lot of learning into a shorter time period than what people who have full-time jobs, unfortunately, they won't be able to spend the same amount of time and dedication that I've been able to put into my wood burning. And so I've just progressed and had this it's, pardon the pun, burning desire to improve all the time. I just wanted to get better and better, and when I was in, you know, you go in these into Facebook groups and you see these wonderful pieces of art that people have done, and I'm one of them people where I thought, that's the sort of art I want to produce. As I'm now a full-time carer for a very sick relative, so I have to be on hand 24 hours a day. It just gives me the time to spend practicing and honing my skills and having fun. Every time I pick up my pyrography pens, I step into a world of creativity. I was just talking to a friend, John, not long ago, and he said the same. He said he suffers with a chronic illness that leaves him with a lot of pain, and pyrography eases his pain while he is concentrating on his wood burning. So that's fantastic. The therapeutic values of creating art are not to be overlooked. They have many wonderful benefits. You get lost into a piece of art you're working on for hours on end, and all of a sudden you look up and 5 hours have passed, and you spent 5 magical hours just your wood burning pens and your creative side of your brain. None of us have to. We don't have to have art degrees and, you know, a background in fine art. I certainly didn't. I was, as some of you may have seen on my story, I was a window cleaner. You know, there was no art background whatsoever in me. I just through sheer practice and dogged determination, I unlocked something inside me. As soon as I picked up a pyrography pen, I just fell in love with the art form, and the adventure sort of snowballed from there. And then I managed to set up this little YouTube channel for other pyrographers who may be looking to improve upon their own skills. You know, like I said, we're all learning together, and that's what this group is all about. It's sharing experiences that I've been blessed enough to have the time to practice these things. I can then just pass them on to you quickly and hopefully impart you with a bit of knowledge, even if it's just one thing that you take away from any of the sessions. Then that to me is worth every minute spent. If I could just one person, if I just passed on one person one little bit of knowledge or one little bit of insight that they were searching for, just to help get to that next stage, then for me it's job done. So we'll leave Dobby there. I'm going to finish his little bit of clothing. I'm going to put some words on for, like I said, I don't know what you call him, my brother's wife's mum. So I don't know what she'd be to me. I don't think she's any relative, is she? I'm not sure. But I'm going to put some words on for her anyway, spray it up and gift it onto her. One last little detail you will notice is building up the bridge of a nose. As you'll see, you have to move in the shape that you're going to get. If you think of a nose, how it's coming up, we don't burn like flat lines, we burn upstrokes, and by burning the upstrokes we're sort of like building the side of the nose. So never flat straight across. Move your strokes in an upward direction, and then you will build that depth for that bridge of that nose. And then on your far side, you obviously got your darker points as well. There's some more darkening up to do with this Dobby yet, but I didn't think you would want to do a massive in-depth learning experience of doing Dobby. It was just for a bit of fun, just impart you a few little tips and tricks today. So happy burning, everybody. I hope you stay safe out there and you're enjoying the sunshine if you're in the UK. Spring's finally sprung, so enjoy yourselves and have fun, and I shall speak to you all again soon. Take care for now. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.